what would you like that term sheet to look like? Build it, and then ask him questions that will lead him to the inevitable answers that you would like for him to have that fit with your term sheet, right? That's kind of how I do it. I like to know, what's my outcome? What's my ultimate outcome? Now, what's my intermediate chunk that this meeting is going to advance me towards my ultimate outcome? And then how do I get that person to ideally believe that a lot of it is their idea?
So I suggested to him, and I said, how would you like to be engaged in a kind of bigger thing, a roll up, whether going to be yourself and or your son to be engaged on that? Would you
Nice.
like to talk about it? And he said, sure, let's meet up. How would you initiate that conversation, and what should the end goal be?
Well, I'm going to put that back to you. What would you like the end goal to be?
I would like him to get engaged and be part of a roll up, but I cannot really deep dive into type of a roll up. Whether it's going to be just like, SAMs or any other ones that, you advise. So I would like to narrow down my focus, let's say, for him to have hard equity, let's say 30% ownership, and have his son engaged, and keep adding, other, perhaps through even his own, partners and stuff, or other services that he knows, bring the other ones in as well.
So I would think about, number one, what do you want the outcome of the meeting to be itself? You know what the end result that you would like is. You'd like to have him come in and be part of the roll up. And I would say, identify what role, if any, would you like for him to play, et cetera, et cetera. What is the end picture that you're going to paint of, you've done the deal with him and now you're going forward? What is his role in that look like? Then I would go back to the next step, which would be the next meeting that you're going to have. What's the outcome you want from that meeting? Is it to have an explanation or a brainstorming session where you are going to ask him questions, and then at the end, you're going to agree on a next step of, let me get you a term sheet? Or is it something else? And then I would reverse engineer, how do I get to that? So I would like to have a term sheet, let's say. That's where you end there. That's your meeting outcome from this meeting that you're about to have. Okay, what would you like that term sheet to look like? Build it, and then ask him questions that will lead him to the inevitable answers that you would like for him to have that fit with your term sheet, right? That's kind of how I do it. I like to know, what's my outcome? What's my ultimate outcome? Now, what's my intermediate chunk that this meeting is going to advance me towards my ultimate outcome? And then how do I get that person to ideally believe that a lot of it is their idea? And I don't mean that manipulatively, although I guess it is kind of manipulative. Like, I'm doing it, I'm manipulating for good. I want them to have the conclusion. Like, if you can ask questions instead of telling, then they will feel much more bought into the process. So if you say, I would probably start with, I'm really happy that we got to come here and meet. What caused you to want to come here and have this meeting? Because I know we had talked and it seemed like, we weren't going to really do anything. And now, or at least not now, you were going to think about it, but then you decided that now was right. And I just want to understand, I know it was when I started talking about a roll-up. What about that caused you to want to meet? Oh, well, blah, 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 blah. Great. Important data for you. Okay. Now, then I would ask them, I'd say, so what would your ideal outcome of today's meeting be? Like, how would you like us to leave things when we leave here today? Oh, well, blah, 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 blah. Or I hadn't thought about it. You always counter with, well, if you thought about it right now, what would you say? And if it's him and his son, then say, I would ask the son as well, probably before I would ask him, because now you're engaging someone who probably doesn't get much engagement. I would be sure my eye contact was divided equally among them so that they both feel included. Because if you can get either one of them bought in, they will convince the other one, right? So that's something that would be one of my outcomes I wanted from that meeting, is I want to convince at least one of them that they want to do this, that they must do this, that this is the best path forward. Ideally both, but definitely fall back at least one of them. Because now I've got an advocate on the inside. I've got a champion for what I want, right? Then I'm going to say, okay, based on what I see as my ultimate desire, and you could even go in and say, I'm doing it right now, and I don't know exactly. I have several different models I want to run by you and get an idea of what one sounds best to you. Now you're bringing them in as a consultant, which gives them respect. It gives you, without them realizing it, authority, because you're the person that is the client that they are now consulting with. How do they go forward together? And then you can say maybe some of the objections that they've had as challenges that the three of you are going to have as you do this thing together. So you can say, well, one of the challenges I know, and even you guys mentioned it when we were talking before, is this. What do you think the best way is for us to get other people that are thinking like that to come in? Now you're getting to see inside their mind, but you're getting to see inside their mind in a way where they're the advocate for you to convince them how to do something, and they're giving you the combination to unlock their consent to be part of the deal.